Hello everybody and welcome to my channel. Today it is Saturday afternoon. It is thundering. I don't know if you're gonna be able to hear that, but it pretty much has thundered and rained every single day. If you live on the East Coast right now, it's just constant rain at this point. It is every afternoon we have some sort of showers or thunderstorm. But yeah, I figured I would jump on here and do a little quick chatty video instead of a vlog or anything like that. I like to throw in these little lists every once in a while. Sometimes they're just nice to relax to and maybe get some recommendations or some ideas because I am still in a reading slump. I have not been able to get out of one, and my health definitely put me there. But at this point, I should be able to read, but I am choosing every single activity other than reading at this point. So I am just straight up in a reading slump. I have started like 7 books, haven't finished a single one, except, I say that, but I actually have finished 2, and they are in this list. But I figured I would put together a list of what I would recommend reading while you're in a reading slump, because there are a lot of people in reading slumps right now. That's something that's been brought up in chats, and I think it's just because summer is when a lot of people are just reading a lot, and sometimes you can get overwhelmed with how much you're reading. And then there's so many readathons going on YouTube right now, and a lot of other people also do have health problems like I do, and it can put you in a reading slump where you're just like not in the mood. So for everybody out there dealing with a reading slump, whether it's now or potentially in the future, or you just like are looking for ideas how to get out of one eventually, we're going to talk about some of the books that I think you should read, or some of the more like broad categories kind of things. We're going to start off specific, and then I'm going to talk about general things and give examples of what I would read for those categories. This is going to be quick, a simple video, and I hope you guys enjoy it. So let's get into the books that I would read if I was in a reading slump and that have helped me actually. Starting with one of the only books that I've actually finished this month, and that is Strange Houses by Uketsu. This is really good. This is really good. It's weird. This is a Japanese translated fiction, and it's kind of like a thrillery. It calls itself the Chilling Japanese Mystery Sensation, and it's definitely like this mystery, thrillery, horror-y type of thing. It's nothing too extreme. It's just, it's kind of weird. But I think that's why this book works so well. I definitely know when I'm in a reading slump, I don't want to read anything that is too serious, that is just too much, that is too long, etc. I just kind of want my brain to just go along for this ride sometimes, because sometimes thinking is really, really hard. And I think that is also kind of what leads to reading slumps sometimes, if we're just, our brain is just working too hard sometimes. So this one, definitely you are going along for a crazy ride. And this is actually even shorter than it looks, because there are pictures in this entire book. So these pictures, they are throughout the entire book. Like definitely they get less towards the end, but there's a lot of pictures in this book. Like so many pictures. So that alone is helpful. Sometimes a visual representation of things that you're reading can really help enhance a reading experience and make you more interested, because you get breaks. Like your brain gets breaks where it's like, okay, I'm reading and I'm kind of getting fatigued. Oh, there's a picture. Let me look at the picture. Sometimes that really, really helps. So I think Strange Houses is a really, really good book to read if you are having a reading slump and it takes no time at all to read. It's a nice little short book. It's just a really weird mystery about some strange houses. Next up we have Dungeon Crawler Carl. I feel like this comes as no surprise. This is such a good book. It's so entertaining. There's not a ton of thought process going on while you're reading this book, and I would 100% say listen to the audiobook, not just physically reading it. The audiobook is so good, and it's just one of those books where you can just sit back and listen to it, and it's a full audio experience where you're kind of just, you feel like you're there. It doesn't feel like you have to really try that hard to read through a book. And I think a lot of people will agree with me that this is a pretty good reading slump buster. This definitely helped me. I've read 2 of these books and I'm halfway through the 3rd one in the middle of this reading slump that I've been going through. So I feel like that is a 100% really good recommendation. I feel like I don't need to tell you guys what this book is about, but it's just a fun time following someone who is going through levels of a dungeon. That's really what this is about. Next up, I would say read a manga. Manga, again, it's that picture kind of thing where you're not just reading so many words on a page. You're looking at pictures, your brain is able to kind of distract itself by coming up with like a story of its own sometimes while looking at the pictures, because pictures always enhance a story. So it's always really nice to not just have to just read blanket paragraphs of descriptive text, and instead you just get to look at it. So I actually would recommend Delicious in Dungeon Volume 1. I have watched the anime. If you are more interested in manga instead of anime, I definitely would pick this one up. It is cute, it is fun. Again, not much super thought process. It's not overly serious as well. It's more of like a found family situation. And again, similar to Dungeon Crawler Carl, you are working your way down through a dungeon, and there's like monster hunting and there's cooking, and it's like cozy manga goodness, and it's just a lot of fun. Doesn't take a lot of brain power, and you can get through it in a couple of sittings, or even just one sitting if you're really feeling it. I also would recommend listening to a memoir, potentially a celebrity memoir. I know if I'm not in the mood to read something, I will look through celebrity memoirs and stick one on an audiobook, and they are wildly entertaining. Again, not much thought process. Pretty much everything on this list is not going to be a lot of thought process, because I know when I'm in a reading slump, if I read something too difficult or try to, my brain will shut off and it will make everything worse. Everyone is different. That is the thing though. This list is mostly like what works for me. Everybody is going to be different. But this year, I think it was this year, I listened to Inside Out, I think is what it's called, by Demi Moore. And 100% that helped a reading slump that I was in at the time, because it's just, it doesn't make you think about a different fantasy world, or you're not building a world, you're already in this world, so your brain innately understands it. And if you are definitely into more of celebrity gossip and stuff like that, it kind of allows your brain to kind of shut off and go into like this like besties mode with the book, where it almost feels like you're gossiping with the book. And I think that's really good, and it kind of just gives your brain this like almost like a weird social interaction, even if you're not being social. And it's so interesting to think about it that way, but it always works for me. It always works really well. I probably should do that actually. Like, I'm in a reading slump right now, and I didn't even think about doing that until right this second, even though I put it on my list. Maybe that's what I'm gonna do. Go listen to one of those. But they're generally easy. You generally know who the person is. You're kind of taking yourself through their life as you were at that time period as well. So it's always really interesting. And as long as it's someone you know decently well, like the Britney Spears memoir, finish it in one sitting. It was crazy because I grew up following her story, and I was a huge super Britney Spears fan. If you're able to find someone that you are a super fan of, and you're able to find a memoir, it definitely relaxes the brain, kind of bringing you back in time and just having a good time listening to their story. I would recommend something almost out of your comfort zone, but again, probably not too far outside your comfort zone, but something that is kind of goofy. Please tell me you heard that. That is a lot of thunder. Kind of goofy and interesting, and just kind of weird. I know that's like really vague, but my example for this would be Butcher and Blackbird. Butcher and Blackbird is so far outside my comfort zone, but I still like romance. So there's like a little bit inside my comfort zone, but it's not difficult to read. It's very distracting because of how strange and over the top it is at times, that I had no choice but to pay attention to this book instead of my brain telling me that I wanted to do 1,000 other things instead of reading. So I'm probably going to pick up Leather and Lark relatively soon, because I think my brain will really appreciate reading that book when it doesn't want to read things. So Butcher and Blackbird, I actually think is a really good choice for a reading slump. Reread a favorite. And I don't mean just like any favorite, I mean like favorite, like a favorite book of all time that is a comfort read, that when you read it, you are brought back to this space that you just are like, oh my gosh, like I want to live here. Not really, because no, I don't want to be in either of these books. But you know what I mean? Like, you want to live in that space where you read it the first time. And I always feel like this works pretty well. And I know it doesn't feel productive, because some people don't love rereading because it doesn't feel productive, or some people just don't like rereading in general. I am generally not a rereader, but this is my one exception to this rule, are my absolute favorites. There are really only 2 books I would actually consider rereading because they are favorites, and I have reread both of these 3 times, I think 3 times each, and I would reread them again. Like, I am seriously considering a reread of one of these that I'm holding, and I'm really excited actually to do that. I think that might be what I do after this. So first up, like for my examples, it would be Fourth Wing. This is not a serious book. I love this book. I like the characters. I like the plot. I like what it does. It brings me great joy whenever I read this book. It's just a fun time. I would not reread Iron Flame or Onyx Storm as a comfort read, as a way to get out of a reading slump. It would just be rereading this first one because I just love the feelings it evokes, and I think that helps with a reading slump. And the other one that I probably am going to reread during this reading slump is A Deadly Education. You guys know I've talked about this 1,000 times, but this is just my example. There's a lot going on. I love the characters. It's just fun. It's action-packed. There's always something going on where you're never just sitting at a moment of standstill in this book. There's always something, and it's every time I read it, I just enjoy the action and the friendships that develop throughout the story. So I think I'm gonna reread this one actually. And then we have Head Empty, No Thoughts books. Generally, most of these I feel like in this list are kind of that way, but these are like really like just fun books. Like, don't take anything critically acclaimed out of these books. Like, they are there for entertainment purposes. And definitely my example of this is Silver Elite. Silver Elite is, there's a lot of stuff that doesn't make sense in this book. I am 100% in the category of people who say, read whatever you want. I don't care if it doesn't make you think. You don't have to think while you read sometimes, okay? As long as you are having fun. And for me, that is Silver Elite. Don't take this seriously. It is just a weird, kind of doesn't make sense at times book, but it is wildly entertaining. And I had a great time with this. I gave it a 4 stars. So I would recommend Silver Elite to get out of a reading slump if you are a person who does not mind a book that sometimes is just a little strange. It may not 100% work. And then we have one of my favorite books, Bride. I love this. Again, this is an example of like, this takes zero brain power. I do think this is arguably actually a good book, but there is no thought process behind while I'm reading an Omegaverse book. Like, that was, and I don't actually like Omegaverse, but I do love this. That's the thing. You don't have to always think while you're reading. And I think my house just shook. And I think this is a great example of that. Like, I actually am tempted to reread this one as well because this is a favorite. So sometimes you just need like a silly, goofy little romance that really doesn't mean, well, actually, there's more meaning in this, but you don't have to read into this one. But this one also works. A Touch of Darkness is also a good example of what Hades and Persephone retelling. And then the final category is a silly, goofy thriller. I love me some silly, goofy thrillers. Like, most of the time I love a thriller that really gets me. Like, it's like, oh my gosh, that's crazy. But sometimes I love one that's just wildly entertaining, and The Boyfriend or The Housemaid's Secret, that series, those are really good examples of that. They're not necessarily good books, but they are so beyond entertaining that when I'm reading them, I forget everything else exists because I'm just like, this is crazy. This is actually crazy. So I think sometimes it's really good just to sit down and read something that you just don't have to take too seriously. And that is my list of recommendations for books that you should attempt to read, or categories you should attempt to read in when you're having a reading slump. I'm gonna take my own advice and potentially go reread A Deadly Education or Bride. I'm also gonna go, because this thunder is crazy, so I need to go make sure everything is good around the house and everything is plugged in just in case we lose power. So anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Definitely let me know down below if there are any types of books or any specific books that you read while you're in a reading slump to try and get yourself out of one. Definitely make sure you subscribe to miss any future content. Definitely like the video if you're enjoying it, and I'll see you guys in the next video.